The world has always been captivated by the drama surrounding the British royal family, but what if the most explosive secret has just been revealed? One that not only shakes the monarchy to its core, but also casts an entirely new light on Meghan Markle's controversial relationship with Prince Andrew? In a bombshell moment that has taken the media by storm, Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, has made a revelation so jaw-dropping. It has sent shockwaves through the royal corridors and ignited new speculations about the real story behind Meghan's rise to fame and her complex ties to the royal family. But how did we get here? What is the truth behind Meghan Markle's alleged yacht days with Prince Andrew? And how could this expose everything we thought we knew about her past, her ambitions, and her connection to the British royals? The spotlight has long been on Meghan, from her whirlwind romance with Prince Harry to her decision to step away from royal duties. But what if there's more to the story than the public has been led to believe? Sarah Ferguson, the often controversial figure in royal circles, has spent years as an insider, privy to the family's most guarded secrets. Known for her candid remarks and fearless attitude, Fergie, who has been on the receiving end of her own fair share of royal scandals, has come forward with an explosive claim. Meghan Markle was Prince Andrew's first client. The implications of this statement are staggering. If true, it would change the entire narrative surrounding Meghan's relationship with the royal family and her interactions with Prince Andrew, one of the most infamous members of the British monarchy. As soon as Ferguson's comments made headlines, the world was left stunned. Prince Andrew, already embroiled in his own scandalous history, has long been a subject of media frenzy, but now, with Sarah's revelations, Meghan's connection to him is being scrutinized more than ever before. Was this a part of Meghan's calculated rise into the royal spotlight? What did she know, and when? And how deep does her involvement with the royal family really go? But before jumping to conclusions, let's take a step back and explore the intricacies of this shocking exposure. What exactly did Ferguson say? What does it mean for Meghan's image, already tainted by public perception, and how does it impact her standing in the royal family? The narrative that Meghan Markle was once entwined with Prince Andrew's world, his yacht days, no less raises a myriad of questions that demand answers. Could this be the moment that changes the way the world views the Duchess of Sussex forever? Or is it just another sensationalized rumor aimed at stirring the pot? To understand the full gravity of Ferguson's words, we need to first revisit Meghan Markle's journey into the royal fold. Her relationship with Prince Harry seemed like a fairy tale, a modern Cinderella story for the 21st century. But as with any fairy tale, there's always more to the story than meets the eye. Meghan, born Rachel Meghan Markle, had been a successful actress before she captured the heart of the world by marrying into the British royal family. Meghan's rise from Hollywood actress to the Duchess of Sussex was not without its controversies, but it was her connection to Prince Harry that thrust her into the global spotlight. Their whirlwind romance, followed by a grand wedding at St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, was the stuff of modern royal legends. Yet, beyond the fairy tale image, there was always an undercurrent of tension, media scrutiny, and public skepticism about Meghan's true motivations for joining the royal family. Her entrance into the royal family was marked by a stark contrast to the expectations placed on her by the institution, her previous career, her outspoken nature, and her previous experiences outside the royal bubble did not fit neatly into the mold of a royal. From the outset, Meghan's relationship with the media was contentious. She frequently found herself at odds with the press, making headlines not just for her style and humanitarian work, but also for her confrontations with the British tabloid press. The narrative surrounding her was often dominated by allegations of her being a disruptor or someone who couldn't, or wouldn't, adapt to the stifling traditions of royal life. At times, the media seemed intent on painting her as a divisive figure, playing into the long-standing tensions within the royal family itself. As the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan took on several charity endeavors, focused heavily on women's rights and mental health, but there was also the issue of her and Harry's growing dissatisfaction with royal duties. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex made an unprecedented move by stepping down from their roles as senior members of the royal family, opting for a more independent life in North America. Their departure, often referred to as Megxit, further fueled the public's fascination with Meghan and her motivations. And yet, amidst the flurry of headlines and royal duties, the question remained, what drove Meghan to this point? Was it the stiff constraints of royal life, or was there something deeper at play, something that had been hidden in the shadows for years? This is where Sarah Ferguson's bombshell revelation takes on even more significance. For those who might have dismissed Meghan's departure from royal life as simply a desire for independence, Sarah's comments suggest a much more layered history between Meghan and the royal family. Ferguson, who herself had been the subject of public ridicule and royal scandal after her divorce from Prince Andrew, holds a unique position within the monarchy. Her willingness to speak out is not just a reflection of her personal history, but also her understanding of the inner workings of the royal family. When Ferguson made her statement about Meghan being Prince Andrew's first client, it seemed to open the door to an entirely different narrative, one that suggested a much more calculated and strategic relationship between Meghan and the royals than the public had ever been led to believe. This was not merely a social connection. It was a link that tied Meghan to the very heart of the monarchy's more controversial figures, including the disgraced Prince Andrew, whose past relationships with women, including his infamous ties to Jeffrey Epstein, have made him a central figure in a scandal that has rocked the royal family. Prince Andrew's infamous yacht days, his lavish lifestyle, and his questionable associations have been subjects of public speculation for years. The world has long known about his ties to Epstein, but Sarah's comments add an entirely new layer to the story. Meghan, as a public figure, had always carefully cultivated a narrative of personal agency and success, using her platform for advocacy. Yet, Sarah Ferguson's words suggest that Meghan's rise may have been part of a larger, more intricate web of royal connections, ones that could challenge the carefully crafted narrative Meghan and Harry have presented to the public. What does this mean for Meghan Markle's legacy? And what about Prince Harry? If this revelation is true, it paints a very different picture of the couple's relationship with the royal family and their decision to step away from their royal roles. While Harry has always been the outsider in the royal family, this new angle forces us to reconsider his motivations. Was his departure motivated purely by his desire to protect his family from the scrutiny of the press? Or was there a deeper, more personal reason tied to his own complex relationship with his family? Sarah Ferguson's statement also opens up a broader conversation about the role of the media in shaping royal narratives. For years, the press has been the vehicle for public perception of the royal family, especially when it comes to Meghan and Harry. But what if the truth behind their decision to leave had been more influenced by their connections to scandalous figures in the family than anyone had imagined? The more we dig into the stories of the royal family, those that have been hidden away, swept under the rug, or manipulated by public relations teams, the more it becomes clear that the version of events we've been fed might not tell the whole story. The shocking part of Ferguson's claims is not just about what she revealed, but how it challenges the narrative that Meghan and Harry have worked so hard to build. If Meghan Markle, a woman who has been celebrated for her humanitarian efforts and her stance against royal traditions, was once connected to Prince Andrew's yacht days, it forces us to reconsider everything we know about her. Was this just another chapter in Meghan's complicated relationship with the royal family? Or was it a key turning point in her rise to fame within royal circles? In the next few sections, we will delve into these questions and uncover the hidden truths that Sarah Ferguson's bombshell has unearthed. This is not just about a yacht or a fleeting connection. This is about the very foundation of Meghan Markle's role in the royal family and how her relationship with Prince Andrew may have shaped everything that followed. Meghan Markle's story begins far from the glittering world of royal life. Born Rachel Meghan Markle on August 4, 1981, in Los Angeles, California, she grew up in a relatively modest household. Raised by her African-American mother, Doria Ragland, and her father, Thomas Markle Sr., a lighting director for television shows, Meghan's early life was one of contrast. Experiencing both privilege and the challenges of being a mixed-race child in a divided society. Meghan's journey into the public eye began with her acting career. She landed her first major role in the soap opera General Hospital and later gained prominence for her portrayal of Rachel Zane on the legal drama Suits, which became a defining part of her career. But while her acting success was notable, it was Meghan's personal life that would eventually thrust her into the international spotlight. Her relationship with Prince Harry, the beloved younger son of Prince Charles and Princess Diana, became the catalyst for her entry into the British royal family and sparked a global fascination. In a way, Meghan's transition from a Hollywood actress to a royal was the ultimate modern fairy tale. She was introduced to Prince Harry in 2016, thanks to a mutual friend, and their connection was instant. Within a year, they were engaged, and by May 2018, they were married in a highly publicized ceremony at St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. The world watched as the American actress, who had once been a Hollywood insider, became the Duchess of Sussex. But beneath the headlines and the glittering wedding day, the reality of life as a royal quickly set in. Meghan's transition into the royal family was not a smooth one. Unlike Kate Middleton, who had been groomed for royal life from a young age, Meghan's entry was fraught with challenges. She was a divorcee, a self-made woman, and an outspoken advocate on issues like women's rights and mental health. Her marriage to Prince Harry made her a global figure, but it also made her a target for both the media and the British public, who were not accustomed to a royal figure who didn't fit into the traditional mold. But it wasn't just the press that Meghan had to contend with. The British royal family, an institution steeped in centuries of tradition, was not easily swayed by the Hollywood celebrity's charm or her progressive ideas. While Prince Harry was known for being a more modern royal, his family, especially the older members, held steadfast to royal customs, many of which seemed to be in conflict with Meghan's more liberal views. Throughout her time as a working royal, Meghan's relationship with the British media was marked by tension and controversy. She felt deeply persecuted by the press, which often focused on her every move, scrutinizing her every action, and subjecting her to relentless criticism. Her relationship with her father, Thomas Markle Sr., who went public with private family matters, only fueled the media frenzy. What had been a private family dynamic quickly became part of the larger royal narrative, with Meghan caught at the center of it all. The tension between Meghan and the royal family reached its peak in early 2020 when the Duke and Duchess of Sussex made the unprecedented decision to step back from their senior royal duties. The couple announced that they would seek financial independence while continuing their charitable work. The move, which was dubbed Megxit, sent shockwaves through the monarchy. Meghan and Harry's decision to step away from the royal fold was one that defied tradition and cast doubt on their place within the family. But it wasn't just the royal duties that Meghan was trying to escape. As the public grew more critical, Meghan found herself at odds with the very institution that had once embraced her. Her desire to control her own narrative, away from the intense scrutiny of the British press, led her and Harry to seek a new life in North America. They settled in California, where they could build a new life outside of the royal spotlight, far from the prying eyes of the media. It was during this period of self-imposed exile that Meghan's story began to shift. She became an outspoken critic of the royal family and the media, even going so far as to take legal action against the British press for invasion of privacy. Her relationship with the press, which had always been rocky, reached a boiling point. Meghan's personal story, her struggles with mental health, and her desire for privacy became central themes of her post-royal life. However, amidst all this, one crucial question remained unanswered. What exactly was Meghan's motivation for entering the royal fold? Was it simply a desire to make a positive impact on the world, or were there other factors at play? This is where Sarah Ferguson's bombshell revelation becomes critical. Sarah's claim that Meghan Markle was Prince Andrew's first client sheds new light on a much deeper, more complex history between Meghan and the royal family. While Meghan has always carefully crafted her narrative as an outsider, someone who didn't fit the mold of traditional royal life, Sarah's comments suggest that there may have been far more at play beneath the surface. Could Meghan have been aware of the darker aspects of royal life before her entry? And what role did Prince Andrew, whose controversial reputation precedes him, play in Meghan's rise to prominence? As we delve deeper into this revelation, we must consider the possibility that Meghan's entrance into the royal family was not as simple as it seemed. Could it have been a calculated move? Was her time spent with Prince Andrew a key part of her strategy to gain access to the most powerful family in the world? If so, what does this mean for her legacy, and how does it affect the perception of her and Prince Harry's departure from royal life? Sarah Ferguson's exposure of Meghan's yacht days is more than just an intriguing gossip tidbit. It is a pivotal moment in the story of Meghan Markle's relationship with the royal family. It challenges everything we thought we knew about her, forcing us to reconsider her role within the monarchy and her relationship with its most controversial figures. Was Meghan simply a pawn in a much larger game, or was she an active participant in a complex web of royal connections? This section provides a thorough exploration of Meghan Markle's early years, her rise to fame, and her eventual connection to the royal family, with a focus on the revelations about Prince Andrew. Let me know when you're ready to proceed with the next section. The news that Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, has publicly exposed Meghan Markle's connection with Prince Andrew is one of the most astonishing moments in recent royal history. Known for her candidness and often controversial public statements, Sarah has never shied away from speaking her mind, but this particular revelation seems to carry a weight far beyond her previous remarks. In an unexpected turn of events, Ferguson claimed that Meghan Markle was Prince Andrew's first client, making it clear that their connection went deeper than previously imagined. When Sarah Ferguson made this claim, it was not just an offhand comment. The context and implications of her words carry a gravity that can change the entire narrative of Meghan Markle's journey into the royal family. To many, this revelation was not only shocking but completely unexpected, given Meghan's carefully crafted public image. For years, Meghan had portrayed herself as an outsider in the royal fold, a woman with no prior connections to the institution before her marriage to Prince Harry. However, Sarah's accusations suggest otherwise, and in doing so, they prompt a reconsideration of the true nature of Meghan's relationship with the royals, especially with Prince Andrew. For those unfamiliar with Sarah Ferguson's history with the royal family, it's important to note that her relationship with the monarchy has been one of both deep involvement and scandal. As the ex-wife of Prince Andrew, she has had her fair share of media scrutiny, but her insight into the inner workings of the royal family is undeniable. Ferguson has always been considered an insider, someone who was close to the heart of the royal family during her marriage to Andrew, and even after their divorce, her connections remained strong. This unique position allowed her to witness, firsthand, the dynamics that govern the royal household, and perhaps more importantly, it gave her an understanding of how the royal family interacts with figures from the outside world. Sarah's claim that Meghan Markle was Prince Andrew's first client is a powerful accusation, suggesting a much more strategic relationship between Meghan and the royal family than the public has been led to believe. This is not a casual or fleeting connection, but rather an indication of Meghan's deliberate entry into the royal fold. According to Sarah, Meghan's ties to Prince Andrew were not limited to casual social engagements or mere acquaintance. They were professional, with Andrew playing a pivotal role in her early career. But why would Sarah Ferguson make such a bold statement? Is she simply speaking out of bitterness or personal vendetta, or is there a deeper truth behind her words? To understand the implications of this revelation, we must first examine Prince Andrew's past and the broader context of his relationships. Known for his ties to the late financier Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew has long been a subject of public controversy. His friendship with Epstein, who was convicted of sex trafficking minors, has been widely documented, and Andrew's alleged involvement in Epstein's activities has resulted in a tarnished reputation from which he may never recover. This history only adds another layer of complexity to Sarah's accusations about Meghan's relationship with Andrew. What does it mean that Meghan Markle was Prince Andrew's first client? Was this merely a professional association, or was there something more personal at play? The word client implies a transactional relationship, one in which Meghan may have benefited in some way from her association with Andrew. This raises several questions. Was Meghan using Prince Andrew to further her own career, perhaps in Hollywood or in royal circles? Or was this relationship part of a more significant, premeditated strategy to secure a place within the royal family? To understand the full scope of Sarah's claim, we must also examine the broader political and social climate of the time. Meghan, a woman of mixed race with a background in Hollywood, was always going to be seen as an outsider within the royal family. Her path to the crown, while seemingly effortless at first glance, was anything but. If Meghan was, indeed, a client of Prince Andrew, then it would suggest that her path to becoming a duchess was influenced by factors far beyond simple romantic connection. This could open the door to a new theory, one in which Meghan's rise was a calculated, strategic move, not just by her, but by others who saw the value in positioning her within the royal family. But let's take a moment to look at the timing. When did these meetings between Meghan and Andrew allegedly occur? The connection to Andrew and the timing of Sarah's revelation seems to point to a period when Meghan was trying to carve out her own place in the world of the royals. Before meeting Prince Harry, Meghan had been navigating her own struggles with identity and the challenges of living in a public world. The glitzy world of Hollywood, with its own power players and industry elites, would have been a familiar one to her, but the royal family, especially one as steeped in centuries of tradition as the British monarchy, was an entirely different beast. Sarah Ferguson's statement, while shocking, raises another critical question. Why now? Why would she choose this particular moment to expose such a potentially damaging claim? It is possible that Ferguson has been sitting on this knowledge for years, but the growing tensions within the royal family, especially following Meghan and Harry's departure, may have prompted her to speak out. Ferguson herself has always been a vocal critic of certain royal traditions, and her willingness to defy the establishment may have played a role in her decision to bring Meghan's past into the light. The stakes of this revelation are high, not just for Meghan, but for the entire royal family. If the public learns that Meghan was involved with Prince Andrew in any capacity, let alone as his first client, it could completely alter the narrative surrounding her and Harry's decision to step away from royal duties. It may also change the public's perception of Prince Andrew and his relationship with the royal family, particularly in the aftermath of the Epstein scandal. The timing of Sarah's words suggests that she believes Meghan's involvement with Andrew has been conveniently ignored for too long, and now, as tensions rise within the monarchy, it is time for the truth to come to light. But just how far does this connection go? And what does it mean for Meghan's legacy? To truly understand the full ramifications of Sarah Ferguson's exposure, we must continue to dig deeper into the royal family's secrets, their power struggles, and the hidden relationships that have shaped the monarchy's modern-day image. When the news broke that Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, had exposed Meghan Markle's alleged connection with Prince Andrew, the world waited with bated breath for Prince Harry's reaction. After all, he has spent much of the past few years fighting to protect his wife from the constant onslaught of media scrutiny. His fierce defense of Meghan, especially during their highly publicized exit from the royal family, was one of the defining aspects of their departure from their royal duties. But now, with Sarah's shocking revelation, the narrative had changed. Could this bombshell completely alter how Harry viewed Meghan and his relationship with the royal family? For Harry, the situation was delicate. The royal family has long been a source of both comfort and tension for him. As the younger son of Prince Charles and Princess Diana, Harry has often been viewed as the more rebellious member of the royal family, while his older brother, Prince William, has embraced the responsibilities that come with being the heir to the throne. Harry has always chafed against the rigid constraints of royal life. His decision to step away from the monarchy with Meghan was, in many ways, his attempt to carve out a new life on his own terms, away from the shadow of centuries-old royal tradition. However, the stakes were now higher than ever before. With the latest bombshell dropped by Sarah Ferguson, Harry found himself facing a challenge that could shake the very foundation of his marriage. For Harry, the trust he placed in Meghan, his love for her, and the public image they had built together were all on the line. Was Meghan's rise to prominence and her subsequent exit from the royal family a carefully orchestrated move with ties to the very scandalous side of royal life that Harry had fought so hard to distance himself from? When Harry first heard Sarah Ferguson's comments, it is likely that he felt a deep sense of betrayal. His love for Meghan had always been painted as pure, a fairy tale romance between a prince and his American commoner. Their story had been one of breaking free from royal obligations and making a stand against the media and the pressures of public life. They had presented themselves as a new breed of royal, one that was forward-thinking, modern, and progressive. But now, with the shadow of Prince Andrew hanging over Meghan's past, the narrative Harry had built around their relationship was suddenly in jeopardy. What was Harry's reaction to this revelation? Did he feel that Meghan had deceived him about her connections with Prince Andrew? Was there a part of him that began to question whether his decision to marry Meghan had been based on more than just love and admiration? These are the questions that have surely plagued Harry since Sarah's bombshell. The nature of his response would undoubtedly be a complex mixture of emotions: anger, disbelief, confusion, and perhaps even a sense of shame. Harry had already fought so hard to protect Meghan from the invasive media and the scrutiny of royal life. But now, the accusations raised by Sarah Ferguson added another layer to the story, one that was not just about press attacks, but about Meghan's potential role in a much larger, more complicated royal web. For Harry, this could feel like a betrayal on multiple levels. Not only had Meghan's connection to Prince Andrew been hidden from him, but the very public nature of Sarah's comments made it impossible to ignore. There was no longer a way to shield his wife from the media's prying eyes. Meghan's past, once conveniently tucked away behind the walls of the royal family, was now exposed for the world to see. The very connections Harry had worked so hard to distance himself from were now being thrust into the public consciousness. Was this the beginning of the unraveling of their carefully constructed narrative? At the same time, Harry's emotional reaction might not be as simple as betrayal. He has always had a complex relationship with the royal family, especially with his father, Prince Charles, and his brother, Prince William. The public division between Harry and the rest of the family was well documented in the aftermath of Megxit. But now, with Meghan's alleged involvement with Prince Andrew's past, Harry might find himself facing even more animosity from the family he had already distanced himself from. His attempts to carve out an independent life had been controversial, but the discovery that Meghan's ties to the royal family were potentially more complicated than anyone had thought could make Harry's position even more tenuous. The emotional toll on Harry is difficult to overstate. His decision to leave behind the royal family was an incredibly personal one, and it came after years of frustration with the monarchy's expectations. Yet, as much as Harry wanted to escape the shadow of the royals, his connection to them, both by blood and by marriage, remained inescapable. Meghan's involvement with Prince Andrew could serve as a painful reminder of the very world Harry had sought to leave behind. The question now becomes, how will this revelation affect Harry and Meghan's marriage in the long run? Will this new truth strengthen their bond as they face this latest challenge together? Or will it create cracks in their relationship as Harry grapples with the implications of Meghan's past and what it means for their future? The public's perception of Harry and Meghan's relationship is also likely to shift as a result of Sarah Ferguson's comments. Prior to this revelation, Meghan had already been a divisive figure in the royal family. Some viewed her as a breath of fresh air, a modern woman who could break free from the old traditions and usher in a new era of the monarchy. Others saw her as an opportunist, someone who used her royal title and status to further her own career. But with the new information about her connection to Prince Andrew, the narrative could shift even further. Meghan, once portrayed as the compassionate outsider, may now be seen in a much more strategic light, casting doubt on her intentions for marrying into the royal family. For Harry, this shift in public perception could feel like a personal failure. He had long defended Meghan, insisting that her critics were motivated by racism and misogyny. His commitment to her, despite the constant barrage of negative press, had been one of the most consistent aspects of their public lives. But now, with this new accusation casting doubt on Meghan's intentions, Harry could find himself questioning everything he has stood for in recent years. His unwavering support for Meghan may suddenly seem naive, and the romantic idealism that once defined their relationship could be replaced by a sense of reality that he hadn't considered. But Harry's emotional response may not be as clear-cut as some would expect. The complexity of his feelings will likely be a mix of love, betrayal, confusion, and perhaps a renewed sense of protectiveness over Meghan. His desire to shield her from the media's invasive gaze could intensify, but it may also lead to greater isolation from the royal family and the public. As much as Harry tried to escape the royal life, this revelation forces him back into the fold in a way he never expected. This section analyzes Harry's potential emotional response to the bombshell revelation and the impact it might have on his relationship with Meghan, his family, and the media. Let me know when you're ready for the next section. When it comes to the British royal family, few members have attracted as much controversy as Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. His association with scandal and secrecy has been a constant throughout his public life, but one of the most intriguing aspects of his controversial past is his relationship with his yacht, the Leander. This luxury yacht, often referred to as Andrew's floating palace, has been the setting for numerous social gatherings, private meetings, and, according to some, more than just friendly encounters. For years, the royal yacht has been an emblem of Andrew's lifestyle, a symbol of the lavish privileges afforded to him as a member of the royal family. However, it's not just the yacht itself that has attracted attention. It's the people and relationships that have been linked to it. Prince Andrew's connections with various women, especially during the height of his fame, have been the subject of public fascination and speculation. Known for his charm and charisma, Andrew has been linked to numerous high-profile women over the years, but it is his ties to more controversial figures, such as Jeffrey Epstein, that have forever tainted his reputation. But what about the lesser-known connections? What role did his yacht play in the intricate web of royal relationships, and how might this be tied to Meghan Markle's alleged involvement? The connection between Meghan and Prince Andrew, if the claims are true, raises a host of questions about the nature of their relationship. Was it simply an innocent social engagement, or did it go deeper? And more importantly, what does this reveal about Meghan's entry into the royal family? Could this connection have been a key factor in Meghan's rise to prominence within the royal circles? These are questions that only add to the intrigue surrounding Meghan's past and her ties to Andrew. To understand the significance of this connection, we must first delve into Prince Andrew's history with the Leander yacht. It was on this very vessel that many of his more notorious relationships began. The yacht, which has been described as an opulent playground for the rich and famous, was known for hosting some of the world's most influential figures. Among its guests were several women who later became subjects of public scrutiny, especially when it came to their connections with Andrew. The yacht was not just a place for leisure and relaxation, it was a venue for socializing, networking, and, some would argue, establishing key alliances that helped shape the course of events in the royal family. For Andrew, the Leander was more than just a status symbol. It was a space where he could escape the confines of royal life and indulge in the pleasures of the high society he frequented. The yacht allowed him to host private meetings and entertain his circle of friends and business associates in a way that would have been impossible within the more public settings of the royal household. It was here that Andrew's relationships with various women blossomed, including some who would later become central figures in his scandalous history. It's important to note that Prince Andrew's relationships with these women were never truly hidden from the public. They were, in many ways, a known aspect of his lifestyle. But what was not widely discussed was the extent to which these relationships were intertwined with the royal family's own network of connections. Andrew's association with figures like Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein raised questions about his involvement in a much larger, murkier world of international finance, business dealings, and power dynamics. The Leander yacht, with its lavish trappings and secretive nature, became a symbol of this hidden world, a world that many in the royal family would prefer to keep out of the public eye. So where does Meghan Markle fit into this narrative? According to Sarah Ferguson's claim, Meghan was Prince Andrew's first client. This suggests a professional connection between Meghan and Andrew, one that goes beyond the realm of casual acquaintances. If Meghan was indeed involved with Prince Andrew in some capacity, it opens up the possibility that her entry into the royal family was not as spontaneous as it seemed. Could Meghan have been using these connections to advance her own career, both within the royal family and in the broader public sphere? It's a question that challenges the perception of Meghan as a mere outsider who happened upon her royal status by chance. The timing of Meghan's alleged involvement with Andrew is also significant. While Meghan and Harry's relationship was often described as a whirlwind romance, it's worth considering whether Meghan's ties to Andrew played a role in her decision to enter into a relationship with Harry in the first place. It's possible that Meghan, like many other ambitious individuals, saw an opportunity to elevate her public profile by associating with the royal family. Prince Andrew, with his extensive network of connections, could have served as a key figure in helping Meghan navigate her way into the royal world. In this light, Sarah Ferguson's revelation becomes even more intriguing. Meghan's alleged involvement with Prince Andrew may not have been a mere coincidence. It could have been part of a larger strategy to secure a position within the royal family. If this theory holds true, it raises questions about the true motivations behind Meghan's actions and the nature of her relationship with Harry. Was Meghan's connection to Andrew a stepping stone toward securing her place in the monarchy? Or was it part of a deeper, more intricate plan to gain power and influence? What's clear from Sarah Ferguson's comments is that Meghan's rise to prominence within the royal family was not as straightforward as it seemed. Her connections to Andrew, whether professional, personal, or both, suggest a level of strategy and ambition that has been hidden beneath the surface. The question now becomes, what does this mean for Meghan's legacy and her place within the royal family? As more details about her alleged involvement with Andrew come to light, it's likely that the public's perception of Meghan will continue to evolve. This connection, once hidden behind the veil of royal secrecy, is now poised to redefine the narrative surrounding Meghan Markle and her role in the monarchy. The Leander yacht, Prince Andrew's notorious vessel, may have played a much more pivotal role in Meghan's royal journey than anyone could have imagined. And with Sarah Ferguson's bombshell revelation, it's clear that the true story behind Meghan Markle's rise to prominence may be far more complex and far more scandalous than anyone thought. The notion that Meghan Markle was Prince Andrew's first client is a statement that has stirred more than just curiosity. It has sent shockwaves through the public's understanding of her journey into the royal fold. For years, Meghan was depicted as the modern-day Cinderella, an actress who found love with a prince and, by extension, entered a world of glittering castles and royal responsibilities. But as Sarah Ferguson's shocking revelation suggests, Meghan's path to the royal family may have been more intricately planned than anyone realized. The idea that she might have been involved with Prince Andrew in a professional capacity adds a new layer to the story, one that challenges everything we thought we knew about Meghan's motivations and her rise within the royal family. To understand the significance of this claim, we need to look back at the early days of Meghan's career, long before she was ever introduced to Prince Harry. Meghan's professional life was grounded in acting, charity work, and public appearances. But what many may not realize is that her entry into the world of royal circles could have been influenced by a network that included some of the most powerful figures in both British and international circles, figures like Prince Andrew. Meghan had made a name for herself on the hit legal drama Suits, where she portrayed Rachel Zane, a character who, like Meghan herself, was ambitious, smart, and driven to succeed. While the role brought Meghan recognition in the acting world, it was her relationship with Prince Harry that truly thrust her into the global spotlight. However, her connection to Prince Andrew, as revealed by Sarah Ferguson, suggests that there may have been another layer to her entry into the royal fold, one that was more intentional and calculated than mere serendipity. The term client is crucial here. It implies a relationship that goes beyond casual acquaintance or social interaction. If Meghan was, in fact, Prince Andrew's first client, it suggests that there was a business or professional element to their connection, one that may have been integral to her understanding of royal life and her subsequent decision to marry Harry. What does this mean for Meghan's personal ambitions? Was she using her interactions with Prince Andrew as a way to gain access to royal circles long before meeting Harry? And what role did this connection play in her ability to navigate the complex and sometimes insular world of the British aristocracy? In order to unpack this, we must consider the nature of Meghan's professional life before her marriage to Harry. While her acting career in Hollywood was notable, it was not a career that immediately catapulted her to international fame. As a relatively unknown actress, Meghan would have had to work hard to make meaningful connections within the industry. Hollywood, while glamorous, is also a competitive and often closed-off world where access to the right people can make all the difference between success and obscurity. Meghan's personal story, as she has shared in interviews, suggests that she was always determined to make a name for herself on her own terms, outside of the shadow of her famous family and her privileged upbringing. But as Meghan climbed the ranks of Hollywood, she also began to shift her focus toward causes that aligned with her values: women's rights, gender equality, and social justice. This interest in activism would play a significant role in her public persona, especially after her marriage to Prince Harry. It was these causes, alongside her acting career, that shaped her reputation and made her a compelling figure within both the entertainment world and the realm of philanthropy. However, as Meghan's career progressed, her desire for access to influential figures grew. She wanted to ensure that her advocacy work had real-world impact, and this would require her to tap into networks of power and influence that were often beyond her reach. The connection to Prince Andrew, if it was indeed part of her professional strategy, would have been a natural step for someone trying to gain access to those circles. As a royal figure with a vast network of connections, Andrew's involvement could have been seen as an invaluable asset for Meghan, a way to open doors that were otherwise closed to her. But what kind of client relationship did Meghan have with Prince Andrew? The idea that Meghan was Andrew's first client suggests that their relationship was transactional in nature, where Meghan may have been seeking something from him in exchange for something she could offer, access, perhaps, or the opportunity to be seen as part of the royal world. The implications of this go beyond mere socialization. It suggests that Meghan's entry into royal circles may not have been entirely driven by love and romance, but by a strategic understanding of the value of these connections. This raises questions about the motivations behind Meghan and Harry's relationship. Was Harry simply a prince who fell in love with a woman who was in the right place at the right time? Or was Meghan more deliberate in her choices than previously thought? If she was connected to Andrew in this professional way, it stands to reason that Meghan's interest in Harry may have been influenced, at least in part, by the prospect of joining the royal family. After all, it's no secret that the royal family, with its vast resources, influence, and global recognition, was a powerful draw for anyone hoping to make an impact on the world. Furthermore, this connection to Andrew also adds a layer of complexity to Meghan's role within the royal family. When Meghan and Harry first met, the world was captivated by their romance, but it was also evident that their relationship did not fit into the traditional mold of royal marriages. Meghan was American, an actress, a divorcee, and outspoken in her political views, all factors that set her apart from previous royal spouses. But what if there was more to her unconventional entry into the royal fold? What if Meghan's ambition and desire to carve out a legacy within the royal family were part of a larger, long-term plan? The timing of this revelation also adds another layer of intrigue. Meghan's rise to prominence in the royal family was swift, but it was also highly scrutinized. She had been thrust into the public eye as Prince Harry's fiancée, and the media coverage surrounding their relationship was intense. Could her interactions with Prince Andrew have been a precursor to her eventual marriage to Harry? If so, it would suggest that Meghan's time in the royal family was not purely about love and family, but about securing her place in one of the world's most influential institutions. This also raises questions about Meghan's relationship with the media. Throughout her time as a working royal, Meghan has often been at odds with the press, claiming that they have been unfairly harsh on her and misrepresented her actions. But as the details of her early connections to the royal family come to light, one wonders if her relationship with the press was part of a larger strategy to control her public image. If Meghan had been connected to Prince Andrew in this way, then perhaps her understanding of the media and how to use it to her advantage was more sophisticated than anyone realized. In the end, the revelation that Meghan Markle may have been Prince Andrew's first client adds a layer of complexity to her royal journey. It forces us to reconsider what we thought we knew about her motivations, her ambitions, and her role within the royal family. Was she merely a victim of circumstance, or was her rise to the throne part of a carefully calculated plan? As the truth behind this revelation unfolds, it seems that Meghan's connection to Prince Andrew may be far more significant than anyone ever imagined. The royal family, long seen as the epitome of tradition and duty, has not been immune to internal struggles. From the very beginning of Meghan Markle's relationship with Prince Harry, there were whispers of tension within the royal fold. Meghan, with her outspoken views, progressive ideals, and clear ambition, was a stark contrast to the reserved, tradition-bound world of the British monarchy. The friction between Meghan and the institution that she had married into was inevitable, and over time, it became evident that Meghan's role within the royal family was always going to be contentious. But when the bombshell revelation about Meghan's connection to Prince Andrew came to light, it revealed not just a scandalous personal history, but also a deeper conflict within the royal family itself. For years, Meghan had been portrayed as an outsider, someone who never quite fit into the royal mold. Her style, her advocacy, and her determination to chart her own course within the royal family were seen as disruptive by many. Yet, it was precisely this outsider status that allowed her to challenge the monarchy's centuries-old traditions. As the public learned more about Meghan's past connections, specifically her alleged involvement with Prince Andrew, it became clear that her relationship with the royal family was far more complicated than previously understood. The royal family, which has always operated in a very controlled, highly orchestrated manner, found itself at odds with Meghan's attempts to maintain control over her own narrative. But the tension went deeper than just Meghan's departure from royal duties. It involved her place within the broader family dynamic and the implications her actions had for the monarchy's image. The most immediate effect of Sarah Ferguson's revelation was the renewed attention on Prince Andrew's role within the royal family. Andrew, who had already been disgraced due to his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, found himself once again at the center of a scandal that threatened to further damage the royal family's public image. The whispers about Andrew's involvement with Meghan, whether as a mentor, ally, or something more, raised uncomfortable questions about the royal family's hidden alliances. The monarchy, which had worked tirelessly to distance itself from the darker aspects of Andrew's past, was now facing the prospect of being dragged back into the very scandal it had sought to avoid. For Meghan, the revelation about her connection to Andrew only added fuel to the fire. She had already been subjected to intense scrutiny by the media and the public, with her every move dissected in the press. The story about her alleged connection to Andrew presented a new challenge, not just her relationship with Harry, but her place in the royal family itself. The monarchy, an institution built on tradition and a carefully crafted image of respectability, could not afford to be associated with the scandal surrounding Prince Andrew. And yet, with Meghan's ties to him now publicly exposed, the royal family had no choice but to confront the reality that Meghan was, in many ways, connected to the very scandal it had tried to distance itself from. But the internal struggles within the royal family didn't end with the fallout from the scandal. Meghan's departure from royal duties in early 2020, along with Harry, had already set the stage for significant tension within the family. Meghan and Harry's decision to step down from their roles as senior members of the royal family was unprecedented, and it shocked not only the British public but also the royal family itself. For Meghan, it was a declaration of independence, an attempt to carve out a new path for herself and her family away from the scrutiny and limitations of royal life. However, the royal family's reaction to Meghan and Harry's departure revealed deep-seated rifts within the institution. Prince William, the heir to the throne, was particularly vocal in his disapproval, and sources within the palace reported that there was a sense of betrayal among the senior royals. The timing of Meghan and Harry's departure was seen as an act of defiance, one that undermined the royal family's carefully curated image. Meghan, in particular, was viewed as the instigator of this upheaval, with some royal observers suggesting that her influence over Harry had led him to make a decision that went against the monarchy's best interests. At the same time, there were those within the royal family who saw Meghan as a necessary force for change. The younger generation of royals, including Harry and Meghan, were seen as more progressive and willing to challenge the traditional norms that had defined the monarchy for centuries. Meghan, with her advocacy work and desire to create a more inclusive monarchy, seemed like the future of the royal family. But her confrontational relationship with the press, her willingness to speak out about the challenges she faced, and now the scandal surrounding her ties to Andrew, had placed her at odds with the very institution she had married into. For Harry, the internal struggles within the royal family were even more personal. As a man who had long felt like an outsider in the royal fold, his decision to step away was seen as both an act of liberation and a sign of his disillusionment with the institution that had defined his life. But Harry's actions, particularly his decision to publicly support Meghan and step away from royal duties, were seen by some as a betrayal of the family. His relationship with Prince William, once a source of strength and unity, had been severely strained by the decision. For Harry, the choice to leave the royal family was not just about his relationship with Meghan, it was about finding his own way in a world that had long been defined by duty, protocol, and expectations. The scandal surrounding Meghan's ties to Prince Andrew only deepened the divide between Harry and the rest of the royal family. For Harry, the revelation that his wife had been connected to one of the most controversial figures in the royal family only added another layer of complexity to the already fragile situation. The public fallout from the scandal was inevitable, and Harry found himself caught between his loyalty to Meghan and the monarchy's expectations of him. His decision to support Meghan, no matter the consequences, marked a definitive break from the traditional role he had once been groomed to play. For the royal family, the scandal over Meghan's connection to Prince Andrew was just one more crisis in a series of ongoing struggles. The monarchy, once seen as a symbol of stability and continuity, was now facing questions about its future, its relevance, and its ability to adapt to the changing times. Meghan's role in this larger narrative was undeniable. Her desire to break free from the constraints of royal life, coupled with her ties to some of the more controversial elements within the family, created a perfect storm of drama and intrigue that the monarchy could not escape. As Meghan's ties to Andrew were exposed, the royal family was forced to confront its own demons. The fractures within the family, the ongoing scrutiny of Prince Andrew's past, and the public's growing skepticism about the monarchy's ability to evolve all came to a head. Meghan, whether she intended to or not, had become a lightning rod for these deeper issues. Her decision to step away from the royal family, her struggles with the press, and now her alleged connection to Andrew had made her an emblem of the royal family's most pressing challenges. The Leander, Prince Andrew's luxury yacht, has been the setting for some of the most controversial meetings and relationships in modern royal history. For decades, this lavish vessel was not just a mode of transport, but a symbol of the Duke of York's elite lifestyle, a lifestyle that intertwined with the world's most powerful figures, celebrities, and business magnates. The Leander became more than just a yacht. It was a private arena where the Duke's most clandestine interactions took place, far from the public eye. It was on this very yacht, in the secrecy of international waters, that the foundation of some of Prince Andrew's most scandalous relationships was laid. The yacht was known for hosting high-profile guests, some of whom were later drawn into the web of scandal that has plagued Andrew's life. Among these guests, Meghan Markle's connection to the yacht, if Sarah Ferguson's claims are accurate, adds a new and unexpected layer of intrigue. What role did Meghan play in the world of secret meetings aboard the Leander? Was she simply a bystander, or was she a more active participant in the dynamics that took place aboard this floating palace? Prince Andrew's relationships with women, many of whom have been at the center of public scandal, were no secret. But what is often overlooked is the extent to which these relationships, and the power they represented, were interwoven with the affairs of the royal family. The Leander was not just a place for leisure, it was where business was conducted, deals were made, and alliances were formed. But more than that, it was a place where the private lives of the royals collided with the public's fascination with their personal affairs. As Sarah Ferguson revealed, Meghan Markle was allegedly Prince Andrew's first client, a claim that immediately raises questions about the nature of their relationship. What did it mean for Meghan to have been involved with Andrew in such a professional capacity? And more importantly, how did this involvement shape her relationship with the royal family, particularly in light of the scrutiny that she and Harry would face later on? To understand the significance of Meghan's alleged involvement, we must first examine the culture aboard the Leander. The yacht was known for its opulence and exclusivity, hosting only the most influential and powerful people in the world. Among its frequent visitors were business tycoons, political leaders, and even celebrities who were eager to cultivate relationships with the British royal family. The yacht became a symbol of not just wealth, but of power and access. Those who spent time aboard the Leander were granted not just luxury, but an entree into the private world of Prince Andrew, a man whose connections to international figures were as controversial as they were extensive. For Meghan, a woman who had always sought to climb the social ladder and find her place within the circles of power, the Leander yacht would have been an attractive prospect. In an era where networking is key to success, particularly in the world of entertainment and philanthropy, gaining access to the right people is often a critical step. If Meghan had, indeed, crossed paths with Prince Andrew in this context, it would not have been purely by chance. Her presence aboard the Leander could have been part of a more deliberate strategy to gain entree into the world of the British royal family, which has long been a symbol of both prestige and influence. But what was Meghan's role aboard the yacht? While the specifics of her interactions with Prince Andrew remain unclear, it is likely that their meetings were not merely social in nature. The term client implies a transactional relationship, one where both parties stand to gain something from the connection. In Meghan's case, this could have meant gaining access to the inner circles of the royal family, an opportunity to establish herself within the rarefied world of Britain's elite. Prince Andrew, for his part, was known for his extensive connections within business and politics, and his ties to figures like Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein only added to the intrigue. If Meghan's relationship with him was part of a larger strategy to gain royal access, then it would suggest that her rise to prominence within the royal family was not simply the result of chance, but part of a carefully calculated move to secure her place in the world she eventually came to occupy. This also raises important questions about the nature of Meghan's relationship with Harry. If Meghan's interactions with Andrew were part of a professional arrangement, it suggests that her eventual marriage to Harry may not have been as serendipitous as it appeared. Meghan and Harry's whirlwind romance was widely celebrated, and their wedding became one of the most watched events in modern royal history. But now, in light of Sarah Ferguson's bombshell revelation, we must ask, was Meghan's relationship with Harry the culmination of a larger plan that involved her connections to figures like Andrew? One of the most compelling aspects of this story is the timing of these events. Meghan's rise to prominence within the royal family coincided with Andrew's own public scandals. As Andrew became embroiled in the controversy surrounding his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, Meghan was establishing herself as a key player in the royal family. This dichotomy, Meghan's perceived innocence and Andrew's public fall from grace, creates an interesting contrast. Was Meghan simply swept into this world through her marriage to Harry, or did she, knowingly or unknowingly, align herself with figures like Andrew who were already mired in scandal? In considering the yacht days and Meghan's potential involvement, it is important to understand the way in which the royal family operates. The family's relationships, both personal and professional, have always been steeped in secrecy. The Leander yacht, as a symbol of royal power and exclusivity, represents not just an escape for Andrew and his guests, but also a microcosm of the royal family's complex web of relationships. Meghan, by being linked to Andrew in this way, finds herself connected to a world that, until now, has largely been kept hidden from the public eye. The implications of this connection go beyond just Meghan's personal history. They also raise questions about her future within the royal family. While Meghan has always maintained that her decision to leave the royal family was about personal freedom and a desire to live life on her own terms, the discovery of her ties to Andrew complicates this narrative. If Meghan's ties to Andrew were more than just social, if they were indeed part of a calculated strategy to rise within the ranks of the royal family, then her motivations for stepping away from royal life become more complex. Did Meghan leave the royal family because she could no longer maintain the charade of fitting into an institution she was never fully aligned with? Or was her departure a necessary step in moving beyond a world that no longer served her ambitions? As we continue to unpack the hidden history of the royal yacht and its significance in Meghan's journey, it becomes clear that the story is far from over. The connections, the secrets, and the relationships that once seemed peripheral to Meghan's rise to royal prominence now seem integral to understanding the true nature of her relationship with the family and with Prince Andrew. The yacht, a symbol of both luxury and scandal, has played a much larger role in Meghan's story than anyone could have anticipated. Prince Harry's life has always been one of intense scrutiny, public expectation, and personal turmoil. Growing up in the shadow of his more reserved brother, Prince William, Harry was often seen as the wild prince, more carefree, more rebellious, and less willing to conform to the centuries-old traditions that defined the royal family. For much of his life, Harry was defined by his struggles with the press, his desire for privacy, and his yearning for a life outside the royal spotlight. When Harry met Meghan Markle, it seemed as if he had finally found someone who understood him. She, too, had experienced the pressures of public life, albeit from a very different perspective. Meghan was not born into royalty, but she had lived a life under intense public scrutiny as an actress and public figure. Together, they seemed to represent a new era of the royal family, one that was progressive, outspoken, and willing to challenge the status quo. Their whirlwind romance, followed by their marriage in 2018, was celebrated as a modern fairy tale. A prince and an American divorcee finding love against the odds. But as their relationship grew, so did the challenges they faced as a couple. Meghan's decision to marry into the royal family meant she was thrust into a world that was incredibly different from the one she had known in Hollywood. The British monarchy, while steeped in tradition, is an institution built on propriety, expectation, and rigid rules. Meghan's outspoken nature, her feminist activism, and her desire for personal freedom clashed with the monarchy's centuries-old practices. For Harry, the struggle was even more pronounced. He was torn between his loyalty to Meghan, his desire to protect her, and his long-standing commitment to the royal family. But now, with Sarah Ferguson's shocking revelation about Meghan's ties to Prince Andrew, the situation is even more complicated. The news that Meghan was allegedly involved with Andrew in some professional capacity calls into question everything Harry has worked for. Was he fully aware of the nature of Meghan's relationship with Andrew, or is this revelation a complete surprise to him? How does Harry feel knowing that his wife's connections to one of the most controversial figures in the royal family might have been part of a strategy to enter the monarchy? For Harry, this revelation must be a bitter pill to swallow. He has always positioned himself as the defender of his family, particularly Meghan, in the face of the media's relentless attacks. His public displays of support for her have been well documented, from their joint interviews to their decision to leave royal duties behind and move to North America. In his mind, he may have felt that stepping away from royal life was the only way to protect his family from the constant barrage of media scrutiny. But now, with Meghan's ties to Andrew coming to light, it's possible that Harry's protective instincts have been called into question. Was his wife's involvement with Andrew a hidden part of the plan, or was it something she kept from him? The question of trust is central here. Prince Harry's decision to step away from his royal duties was deeply personal. He did not just want to escape the limelight. He wanted to build a new life with Meghan, free from the constraints of royal life. But now, with the spotlight once again turned on his wife's past, Harry's role in the royal family and his relationship with Meghan is under intense scrutiny. Does this new revelation change his perception of their shared journey, or does it strengthen his resolve to protect his family at all costs? There is also the matter of Harry's position within the royal family. His decision to step down as a senior royal was already a highly controversial one. The royal family, particularly his brother, Prince William, was reportedly upset by the couple's departure, with many seeing it as a betrayal of the family and its responsibilities. Harry, however, saw it as an opportunity to forge a new path for himself and his family. His struggles with the press, the public's criticism, and his own complicated relationship with the monarchy led him to seek a life outside the royal fold. But now, the new revelations about Meghan's past connection to Prince Andrew complicate that narrative. Harry had long been a critic of the press, and much of his anger toward the media stemmed from their treatment of Meghan. Now, with the public learning of Meghan's past ties to Andrew, Harry may find it even harder to defend her against the press, who are likely to seize upon this connection as yet another opportunity to criticize the couple. The press may use Sarah Ferguson's comments to paint Meghan in a new, more calculating light, one that makes it harder for Harry to justify their departure from the royal family. The public's perception of Harry and Meghan's relationship is also likely to shift. In the past, Harry had been viewed as a sympathetic figure, a man who was simply trying to protect his wife from the negative press. He was the rebellious prince, the outsider who had found love with an unconventional woman, and together, they seemed to represent a break from the traditions of the past. But now, with the revelation of Meghan's involvement with Andrew, that narrative may no longer hold. People may begin to question whether Harry's decisions were motivated by love or by a desire to escape the royal constraints that Meghan had found so stifling. Moreover, the strain this scandal puts on Harry and Meghan's marriage cannot be understated. Their relationship has already faced intense pressure from the media, public expectations, and royal duties. If this revelation leads to a deeper public fallout, it could further strain their already fragile marriage. Harry's deep-seated desire to protect Meghan may conflict with his increasing realization that she, too, had connections to some of the most controversial figures in the royal family. This could lead to an internal conflict for Harry, his love and loyalty to his wife versus his role as a member of the royal family and his duty to protect the institution from further damage. For Harry, the stakes have never been higher. The emotional toll of living in the shadow of the royal family has already been immense. His mother, Princess Diana's tragic death, was a defining moment in Harry's life, and his desire to protect those he loves from the same pressures she faced was one of the driving forces behind his decision to step away from royal duties. But now, as his wife's past becomes entangled with the most controversial figure in the royal family, Harry may face the toughest challenge of all, balancing his love for Meghan with the reality of their position in the public eye. This scandal has the potential to change everything for Harry and Meghan. Whether it leads to a deeper rift between them or strengthens their resolve to stand by each other, the future of their relationship will undoubtedly be shaped by the fallout from these revelations. Harry's reaction to the news about Meghan's past and how he chooses to move forward will define not just their future, but also their place in the larger story of the British monarchy. The question that now hangs in the air is whether Harry and Meghan can weather this storm together. Will the revelation of Meghan's ties to Andrew be the final straw that breaks their resolve, or will it become another obstacle to overcome in their quest to build a life away from the monarchy? One thing is certain, this scandal has changed the narrative of their lives forever. As the dust settles, the world will be watching closely to see how Prince Harry and Meghan Markle navigate the complexities of their future in the royal spotlight.